Hello and welcome to section 6. In this section, we will go ahead and install a multi-node Apache Storm cluster. So what we'll be doing here is we'll be first setting up a Zookeeper cluster and then we'll be installing and configuring Apache Storm in multi-node cluster. So let's go ahead and start with the Zookeeper installation. So the kind of cluster that I'm planning here to demonstrate is a 3-node cluster in which the first system will be the Nimbus and the Storm core, that is your Storm UI, and the remaining 2 systems will be the slaves, or basically the supervisors. So let's go ahead and start with the Zookeeper cluster setup. So as you all can see here, I have already logged into my 3 machines. So one thing that you need to ensure here is all the 3 machines must have the domain name configured. So as you can see here, I have configured my etc hostname in all the 3 machines. So you need to ensure that you need to configure this. So you need to have a dedicated hostname. Let me just show you for the third system too. And you need to even configure your host file. So let me show you the host file. While configuring the host file, you need to ensure that you need to comment the second line. Usually the second line creates a lot of problems in terms of inter-process communication. So we avoid this by commenting this line. And of course, I have added the IP address of all the 3 machines. In all the 3 machines, we have these entries. You can see here. So we have etc host. Here also you can see we have etc host. So you need to ensure that you do these configurations. You need to set up your network well. And then what I have done is in all my systems, I have my Zookeeper available and also I have my Storm available. So let's start with the Zookeeper installation. It's a very straightforward installation. What I will do is I'll just extract a Zookeeper tar file. After extracting, I will rename the Zookeeper tar file. And then I will be updating the environment variable. So already in my system, just for safety's sake, I have already set up the environment variable for the Zookeeper as well as for the Storm. So we will do the installation however. Perform exec bash. And then you need to go ahead and configure your Zookeeper configuration. So I'll say zvi zookeeper conf zoo.cfg. I hope everybody can recall. In my previous section also I discussed that this file doesn't exist. You need to create it from fresh file. So already what I have done is I have created a notepad to copy paste the configurations. You'll be getting the same in the section folder. So as you see in the notepad, you can see here, this is the configuration for multi-node which I have created. So I'll just copy paste this configuration. The only change, even though in the notepad I haven't done, the only change is you need to ensure the IP address is correct. So in this case, I have written localhost, which is completely wrong. So I'll make the changes in the setup here. I'll just paste it here. And then here, instead of localhost, I will say node 1. So my first server in the Zookeeper cluster is node 1. My second server will be node 2 and the third server will be the node 3. I'll save this file and then you need to create the folders. So I'll say mkdir Zookeeper data folder and you need to even create the logs folder. And inside the data folder, you need to create a file called myid, in which, since this is node 1, you will say the number as 1. So as per the configuration, if you see, if I just show you the configuration again, I'll say conf zoo.cfg. So here I mentioned, right, server.1 is node 1. So see, what I did is in my ID of the node 1 machine, I have specified 1 represents the node 1. Similarly, in the second machine and the third machine, I will say 2 and 3 respectively. So once I'm done with this configuration, now rather than going ahead and performing the same steps in the remaining 2 machines, I can just transfer the folder itself directly. So I'll say Zookeeper, I'll say Storm user @ node2 : I'll say home storm user. That's it. So this command will take care of copying the entire folder in my node 2. And similarly, I'll do the same for node 3 also, just to ensure that I'm just avoiding to type a lot. So I'll say yes, and I'll give the password, and it will do the copying process. It will copy the entire folder, so it's more like the installation. And similarly, I'll do it for the node 3. That's it. So the next thing is I'll go to the node 2. There's one small change I need to take care, and that is in the data folder we have the my ID. In the my ID, instead of 1, in this case we will make it as 2. Similarly, here also, instead of 1, we will make it as 3. The rest of the configuration remains the same. The rest of the parameters remains the same. I'll just do an exec bash just to ensure everything looks good. Whatever environment variables I have set in the node 1, the same environment variables is there in node 2 and node 3. Now let's go ahead and start the Zookeeper service. So I will say zkserver.sh start. So this will start the Zookeeper service. Now when you're running in multi-node mode, you need to start at least 2 Zookeeper services before you check the status. If you type JPS right now, here you can see the service is on, but to check the status, you need to start at least 2 Zookeeper services. So now here also you can see JPS, everything looks good, I guess. If I go back and if I check the status, now you can see this machine is acting as the follower, and of course this machine is acting as the leader. And let me start the Zookeeper service here also. Here also I will check the status, and here also the system is running as follower. So this is called Zookeeper in ensemble mode, where what we are doing is we have one system who is acting as the leader and the other systems acting as the follower. All the 3 machines maintains the same data. All the 3 machines are in sync with the leader, and if the leader fails, still one of the follower can become the leader. So in that way, we are also achieving high availability of all the metadata and of all the communications happening between the Nimbus and the supervisor. So in the next video, we'll go ahead and we'll understand how to install and integrate Storm in the setup.